gentlemen, welcome back to review for week number 5. I'm going to go over every single game from Thursday to Sunday, talk about the 2 key takeaways, one from each team that I had from these games. There is lots of great content coming out almost every day from Relentless Press, so make sure you smash that like button for me and then also subscribe to the channel. Both of those things help me out a bunch. On our way to our first 500 subscribers, you can be a part of that, so hit that like button and help me out with it if you would not mind. We are going to start with the Colts game against the Broncos on Thursday night. This was one of the ugliest games I've ever seen, to be frank. There was great defense, there's no doubt about that, but this was also a case of really poor offenses going at it. Russell Wilson, story's been going for days now, but he looked absolutely atrocious in this one. A week after we thought that he maybe finally figured it out. Now, he might be hard to trust moving forward, but then again, next week they have the Chargers. Didn't seem to be able to slow down Jacoby Brissett a whole lot. I know the running game did a lot for the Browns, but it might be hard to bench Russ next week against LA. And on the Colts side of things, it was a breakout game for Alec Pierce. This is back-to-back games for him now, going for 80 plus. He's been a consistent wide receiver 2 option in that offense. He is worth a roster spot so you can continue to see if he is going to keep and maintain that production. In the Giants game in London, this was a beautiful thing. New York, shout out to them for finding a way to get it done. Big shout out to Brian Dable as well. He did a lot of interesting things that kept the Packers on their heels, creating some big plays for that offense, who I really did not think had much of a chance at moving it against Green Bay. And I was wrong, because Saquon Barkley is on another level right now. Gotta be a top 3 back basically from here on out. Quads is looking unstoppable. On Green Bay's side of things, this was really another notch in the belt for Aaron Jones. He is the dude when it is tight. Even when it's not, he's going to be the guy getting the majority of the touches. In this game, it was brutal for A.J. Dillon owners. Just 6 touches for Dillon, 15 for Aaron Jones. And if you didn't listen to me and held A.J. Dillon after that week 1 explosion, this is why you do that, because the value can change very quickly. And Aaron Rodgers does enough to maintain his fringe quarterback 1 status. To the 49er game against Carolina. Their offense is broken. When we're talking about the Panthers, I think it's going to get even worse. As bad as Baker Mayfield has been, I think it gets worse moving forward, even more so. CMC has to be trending down, even though he has been pretty solid week in and week out. I just feel like the ceiling is capped for him. And you don't exactly want that in a guy that I would say most people view as a top 5 running back as far as fantasy is concerned. So, may sound crazy. If you're a CMC owner, put some feelers out and at least see what people are going to offer for him. I think he's going to be solid week in and week out, because he is going to be fed the rock. But the upside in Carolina's offense, there's no ceiling here. It's really non-existent, and so we're not going to see those huge games from him moving forward. If I had to guess, if you can get a big deal for him, I would say go for it. On the 49er side of things, it's all about Jeff Wilson. He has become a smash RB2 moving forward, continues to get fed the rock. He had a big game here with 120 yards on the ground and a score. He's got 2 scores, 269 yards in his last 3 games. Everyone else for the 49ers offense goes by the wayside a little bit. Debo didn't see a ton of looks in this game, but made the most of it. Little bit of improvement though for George Kittle owners. It was nice to see him get close to that 50-yard mark. In the Bills game, they absolutely wiped the Steelers off of the face of the earth, 38-3. If you listened to me and kept the faith, or you bought him after my video last week, Gabe Davis went nuclear in this game. He had a 98-yard touchdown, 3 catches, 171 yards, and 2 scores. There are going to be peaks and there are going to be valleys in this Bills offense, because someone else is going to be the focal point week in and week out besides Stephon Diggs, who's going to be pretty consistent in it. We buy Gabe Davis and we keep him as a wide receiver 2 because of peaks like this. To the Steelers side of things, Najee Harris trending down even more. maybe not even going to be a flex next week because they have Tampa Bay. But we did see on the plus side of things, Kenny Pickett, I know they were getting blown out in soft coverage and everything else, but he did throw for over 300 yards in this one. It gives a little bit of hope in this Steelers offense where before there was zero. The Chargers are able to survive the Browns 30-28. For those of you who were out here promoting selling Austin Eckler last week and the week before, you got exposed in this game. And really in the last 2 games, Eckler has 5 touchdowns. He's racked up nearly 300 yards of total offense. I never understood why you would want to sell the workhorse in an offense that is going to score a ton of points. And that was not a train that I was partaking in, but plenty were. You gotta hold Eckler for opportunities like this. He is a top 5 running back basically every week from here on out, even with that banged up Chargers offensive line. For the Browns in this one, pretty much par for the course, things that we already knew. You're starting David Njoku, and if you haven't been, you've been missing out and not paying attention. Amari Cooper was able to rebound like we thought he would. He has been fairly consistent, but still up and down more than we would like. He's got to be started because he's the only show in town in the passing game as a wide receiver. And then Nick Chubb continues to do what he does and dominate. To my Vikings game against the Bears, this was a roller coaster. In the end, the Vikings pull it out. Dalvin Cook restored the faith for owners, 123 yards, a pair of scores in this one. Got a third one vultured by Kirk Cousins, but we will take it because Cousins was able to flash that upside that we have been waiting on. I think more importantly, what this does is open up the Vikings to the Kevin O'Connell takeover. He continues to think outside of the box in this offense. I think we might be only beginning to scratch the surface of what this Vikings offense can do as far as putting up points, and that is a scary thought for defenses. For the Bears, Montgomery is able to survive in a really poor game script. The passing game work for him was really big. And on the Justin Fields side of things, he did turn it around a little bit, especially after how poorly the last couple of weeks have been. He had a 50-plus yard touchdown run that was called back, really in an unnecessary block. That would have been a really big play for him, would have probably put him in the top 15, if not higher, for quarterbacks. So I do not love him over the next couple weeks because he still has a couple tough matchups, but he needs to remain on that low-end quarterback 2 radar. The Patriots go out and smash the Lions. Bigger story, though, is the injury to Damien Harris. Prayers out to him. Hope everything is okay. This opens up the door for Ramondre Stevenson to explode. His stock is soaring. He is going to be a high-end running back, too, moving forward with a massive workload that he is going to get week in and week out. And he showed why in this one. He had 25 carries for a $161. On the Lions side of things, little bit concerning if you have playmakers in this offense, because all season long, the only thing that we've seen from Detroit is big plays and lots of points. They were one of the top 5 high-scoring teams in the NFL coming into this game, and all of a sudden, there is this ridiculously low floor that we did not account for. So we have to take that into consideration as we move forward the rest of the season. The Saints were able to outgun Seattle. I really expected the Saints defense to do more. I think the storyline, though, is that Seattle's offense is just clicking right now. What they are doing is working. Geno Smith is playing the best football of his career, and his playmakers are doing a really good job of helping him out and making it easy on him. Seattle has startable pieces now, which 2 weeks ago I would have told you were crazy for considering that. But Tyler Lockett's been balling out, and he is probably a top 12 wide receiver after this week. Not in our rankings, but as far as the production he's put up so far. And DK Metcalf continues to impress. The injury to Rashad Penny is not great if you're an owner, clearly. But this means that if Ken Walker is available, blow the budget on him. Now, I don't think that he's league winning, but I do think that he's going to be a solid RB2. And if Seattle's offense continues to just put up points, and we know their defense isn't going to stop anyone, so it's possible he could really make a difference down the stretch. Seattle scored 77 points in the last 2 weeks. For the Saints, this game was all about Taysom Hill. He needs to be rostered in every league if he is tight end eligible. Now, I know that he probably just had his biggest game, maybe of his career, but of this season almost certainly. But the upside that he offers in a tight end wasteland, when we look at what happened this past week, TJ Hawkinson didn't even get 2 points. Gerald Everett let owners down. This kind of upside just does not exist at the tight end position. So he needs to be on rosters in every league he is eligible as a tight end. Alvin Kamara was able to come to life. Owners needed to see it, so it was great for him to break out. I know they're not going to play Seattle this week, but it was still nice to see the ceiling for him. The Jets, and one of the surprises of the weekend, at least for me, obviously the Teddy Bridgewater injury was part of it, but they crushed the Dolphins in this one. If you made the move, as I suggested 2 weeks ago, and went and got yourself Breece Hall, you are sitting pretty right now. He had nearly 200 yards of total offense. He had a score, could have had a couple more scores, but he got vultured by Michael Carter, and he did that on just 20 touches. So the breakouts happened. He's the running back one. If you wanted to buy him, it's too late. The door is closed. For the Dolphins, they could have survived without Tua. I had faith in Teddy being able to deliver the ball to the playmakers enough where they could survive and stay afloat. But now down 2 quarterbacks, depending on what happens with concussion protocol, this is a big downgrade for Miami across the board. The only one who might benefit is going to be Raheem Mostert. He had 18 carries in this game. Chase Edmonds, on the other hand, had 1. The Bucs are able to outlast the Falcons, kind of, sort of, not really. Atlanta deserved to win this game. They got screwed by that horrible roughing call on Grady Jarrett. I just do not understand what football is anymore. You can't tackle the guy. You're just not allowed to tackle him anymore. If that's what they want to do with quarterbacks, make that a rule. But that was brutal, and the way to lose the game for Atlanta, you have to feel for them. That being said, Atlanta needed to do a better job of getting Drake London involved in this one. With Kyle Pitts out, I expected a lot more work for him. Now, he did see 7 targets. Not a lot of them were high quality. Owners expected more from this. I think London has to be trending down, but I am not panicking on him by any means. I am still buying Chris Godwin as well. I think that another good, not great game is perfect for prospective owners to go in and make a trade for him. He is going to be worth it down the stretch on your team. Rashad White is another guy I would love to get if I have an extra roster spot on the back end. We've seen how dominant Leonard Fournette has been. If anything happened to him, White would be a running back 2 almost every week. And then finally, with angry Tom Brady, called that he was going to come out. He did. He was just enough to get the job done here, but that offensive line is still really trying to figure it out for the Bucs. The Titans are able to ground the Commanders. King Henry continues his rampage, and the passing game usage, while not great, is something you still like to see. Tennessee's going to stick with the same formula. They're going to try to ram it down your throat with him, just like they have for the last 2 years. If Henry can stay healthy for this season, he is going to try to carry your fantasy team, just like he is trying to do for the Titans. On the other side of things in the running back room, it was all about Brian Robinson finally coming back from injury. The first game, he gets 9 carries. Antonio Gibson had a whopping 3. So if you didn't sell Gibson like I suggested a couple weeks ago, it is too late now. The window is closed. They clearly want to get Robinson more involved in this offense, and it could be sooner rather than later, if it hasn't already happened, that he is the RB1 in Washington. The Texans are able to clip the Jags in another pretty brutal game to watch. Thankfully, I did not have to suffer through it. Trevor Lawrence is not helping his case to try to move from that QB2 territory to a QB1. Once again, it's the turnovers that do him in. He went in the opposite direction for the second straight week, and he did it against a poor Texan squad, which is the opposite you want to see as an owner. The other development is that Travis Etienne continues to take a little bit stronger of a hold on that running back 1 job. He tied for carries with James Robinson for the second straight week, and he looked more efficient not only on the ground but in the air as well. Robinson's value is very shaky right now. Maybe offload him if you can get a decent deal. To the other running back room, Damien Pierce had almost 30 touches for the Texans. They have made him the focal point of this offense. It is too late to buy him at this point, but I'm certainly not selling him either. In the Cowboys and Rams game, we learned that there is no Rams running back that you want for the next 3 weeks, most likely, because Carolina's next, and that is a maybe, but then they get San Francisco and Tampa Bay. It is going to be ugly coming out of the backfield for production for LA. It could, however, and hear me out, open up a fire sale buy window for Cam Akers, and that is something I'm interested in because I still believe that Akers has talent and that this offense will eventually figure it out. The O-line has been brutal. The offensive passing attack has not clicked, but I think they can still figure it out, but it's going to take a couple weeks. So in 2 weeks, if Cam Akers is sitting there for popcorn, I am willing to make a educated trade for him. I'm not going to give up a ton, but you won't need to because he's going to be at the bottom of the barrel. I have already heard people considering dropping Cam Akers from the rosters. It's hard to blame them right now, but I just feel like there is going to be enough value that he is worth a roster spot. And if you can get him for nothing, he is worth having on your team. For Dallas, it's Tony Pollard rebounding after he had a really poor week last week. There has to be a hashtag free Tony Pollard movement at this point, and that is because Zeke, once again, could not get it done on a per touch basis. He had 22 carries for 78 yards. For you mathematicians out there, that's about 3.5 yards a clip. On the other end, Pollard, 8 carries, 86 yards, a score. I don't get what Dallas is trying to do, but they're winning, so they're probably not going to change it for now. And then finally, Dallas's defense continues to dominate. They might be a defense that we're actually actively trying to avoid if we can help it. For the Eagles game, they're able to survive a late surge by the Cardinals. Once again, it is Hollywood Brown getting in the end zone. If you did not sell him last week, sell him now. His price is only going to drop as far as how valuable he is. If you can get another wide receiver one for him, you got to do it because he will not be that in 2 weeks in Arizona. Eno Benjamin is the guy in that backfield with James Conner once again going down with injury. I've already said this, but if you didn't listen or you haven't done it yet, he should be rostered. In case Conner can't go, he would be a decent flex option with some upside depending on the matchup. And then for the Philly side of things, there is a lot of mouths to feed in this very good Philadelphia offense. Dallas Goedert and Miles Sanders look safe week in and week out. They are going to see looks. Between A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith, so far it's looked like only one of these guys can succeed. But with how good the offense has been, you're not benching them, so you just have to ride out those valleys. The last game that we are going to look at is that Sunday night matchup between Baltimore and Cincinnati. I had this game pegged wrong. I thought it would be an offensive explosion. It ended up being an old school smash mouth AFC North clash. Cincinnati really missed T. Higgins in this one. It was clear when they were in the red zone. They did not have that big option to go to. It ended up being Hayden Hurst because they had no one else. But I think his absence really shifted what the Bengals could do on offense. For the Baltimore Ravens, no Rashad Bateman in this one, and Devin Duvernay stepped up in a big way. They made him a focal point in the offense, something I did not expect. I thought there would be more rushing in this one, but it was Devin Duvernay and, of course, Andrews on the outside. Duvernay is worth a roster spot if he is available, and if Rashad Bateman can't go, Duvernay needs to be considered at least a high-end flex option. And then as far as opportunities that this game opened up, still buy low on Joe Mixon, and you can now possibly buy low on J.K. Dobbins. I would be interested in doing both. And that is everything for the week in review. Hope you guys pulled some useful information from it. Do not forget to drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. I would greatly appreciate both of those things. If you don't subscribe, you might miss the weekly content that Relentless Press is bringing you 12 p.m. Pacific, Monday to Saturday. This is Relentless Press. I am your host, Abraham Opatz, and we will see you next time.